And so the idea of even community, like a mayor or local elections or whatever, is smashed out. It's all about the party.
And you've spent a lot of time in the UAE and living there as well, right? In Abu Dhabi?
I lived there full time for 3 years with my kids. Yeah,
What are they like?
with 4 of my
I
kids.
feel like they get ignored a lot. Like when we talk about the Middle East, it's like they're there, but everyone wants to talk about Saudi Arabia. They want to talk about Israel, some of these other countries, obviously Iran for another reason there. But what attracts you to the UAE?
They are for a Middle East country. A, they wanted help, provided help. B, they've actually respected religious freedom quite well. Right? There's churches there. There's not even synagogues in the UAE, and the synagogues came even before the Abraham Accords. But when I lived there with my kids, there was a couple blocks of areas where there was almost every flavor of Christian church you could imagine. So
Welcoming place in a way.
it was, yeah. And kids went to the American school there, and they learned a lot, and they learned a lot how the rest of the world works. So again, I guess a variation of the travel my dad tried to provide me when I was a kid. I tried to do the same thing. Took them to South Africa and Rwanda, and
Oh, you took them to Rwanda.
yep, took them to the Genocide Museum. It was very instructive for them.
You seem to be.
We did a bike trip across China.
You did a bike trip across China?
Yeah, that was really. They don't even do that anymore.
I didn't think so. It's not on my list.
But that was a great education, and you understand why the CCP tries to have such an export-focused economy, because they got to pull hundreds and hundreds of millions of people out of rural China. Because we saw for miles and miles and miles people harvesting rice, planting and harvesting rice the same way they would have done 200 years previously.
What year approximately is this?
2012.
2012. Okay, so they're starting to boom a little bit though at this point.
Yeah,
but
the economy's
you see
rocking.
the second world right
But
there.
but it also is a great education of, in direct correlation to how far away you got from Hong Kong, the quality of living, roads, cleanliness went down. What Hong Kong was as a island of capitalism, of rule of law and governance, that for since 1847 to 1997, 150 years was the lease, was extraordinary and an incredible generator of wealth, of prosperity, clean water, sanitation, all those positive things. And so I saw from that Hong Kong really start to slide, because it's become more and more absorbed into the Chinese communist-run mainland.
Wait, as an aside here, though, we're obviously talking about the country that's the second biggest GDP in the world now. They have totally opposing political
Paradigm.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. Do you view China as like the impending threat we need to take the most seriously, or what are your thoughts from a geopolitical standpoint there?
Well, you're right in thinking that China is diametrically opposed to our way of life, because they are all about the party rule, and a rule of the elite. And the idea of individual rights, of an individual person mattering in China, is antithetical. So democracy is messy, it's imperfect, it's inefficient, but it is the best form of government on the planet. So,
For sure.
And so the idea of even community, like a mayor or local elections or whatever, is smashed out. It's all about the party.
I'm kind of surprised China hasn't, when you look at what they've done around the world from an economic standpoint, just buying up everything on countries that can't possibly pay back the debt, so then they get to set up shop there forever. It's like surprising to me that they haven't officially taken Taiwan or something like that? Why do you think they haven't taken an action when we've shown, let's say, foreign policy weakness over the past several years?
They can speak out, they can protest, it's imperfect. That is the freedom disease that the Chinese Communist Party just cannot tolerate, and that's why they're so obsessed with taking it.
It just seems like, when you look at the history of their scale up, in 1999, there are metrics with which you could still have called them a third world country. And very quickly, they quadrupled, quintupled down on technology and effectively not only became a first world country, but they're like the other world power now. And I get concerned when I see, things like the...
Yeah, but let me just cut you off there. On this bike trip, to go to these spectacularly built hotels with big signs, do not drink the water. Do not, because it's chemically, poisonously unsafe.
Like Flint kind of stuff.
Like 10x Flint.
Oh, wow.
In lots of places along the way. So that's what comes from having no property rights and no real means to push back on the all-powerful state. I mean, I've been to Beijing and had black snow.
Black snow?
Where it's snowing, should be white. By the time it gets to the ground, because it's picked up so much coal dust and soot and crap out of the air, it's falling on the ground right outside of Beijing airport, and it's black. So that is, even the irritant of the U.S. Embassy posting the actual air quality numbers for the rest of the Beijing population to see, the fact that the only place you can get a reliable air quality reading is from the U.S. Embassy says it all for what the problem with a one-party rule, unaccountable to the people, means.
Yeah, and it's also crazy that they can use that against us too. I always cite this example on the podcast because, like you, I'm not a fan of communism, obviously.
Nope.
But in their country, because they don't have freedom, for example, their TikTok for their kids turns off at 9:00, and when it's on, they watch science videos and math videos.
It's pushing STEM,
right?
Not
titties,
transgender stupidity, social degradation nonsense. Yeah, exactly.
Sure, anything, and mind melting type stuff.
Exactly.
And so I always look at this. It's like you can use our system of freedom and openness. If you're another country that's not accountable to anything because you don't have that, you can use it against itself to turn it in on itself.
Sure, it's exactly what they're doing with fentanyl, right? The fentanyl epidemic in America, which the headline number is like 109,000 dead last year. It's more like 250 or 300,000 people dead.
That even seems low. Yeah.
Exactly. That is organized, facilitated, funded by the Chinese Communist Party. Those precursor chemicals are coming out of Wuhan area.
And they're my favorite place.
Yeah, exactly. Shipped to Venezuela to start, but now to Mexico. There are Chinese nationals in Mexico teaching the cartels how to fabricate fentanyl. A normal illicit business is not going to develop a product that kills its customers. It's bad for business. So it speaks to why, fentanyl is done to rot American society from the inside.
It's a reverse opium war to me.
It is.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even the U.S. that did it, but it's an FU to the West writ large.
You ever hear the book Fentanyl Inc.?
No.
So this guy, Ben Westhoff, wrote this, this had to be maybe 6-7 years ago. And he went on Joe Rogan also 6-7 years ago after he wrote it and told the story. He was like a music reporter. He was working on a story in music. And while he's working on it for this magazine, some guy makes a comment about fentanyl, like an offhanded comment. He asks him about it more and he gets curious, starts pulling on the thread. Quickly, he's like, holy shit, there's something here. Decides to write a book. And pretty badass, he decides to fly to China alone, just an author, not a special forces guy or anything, and go undercover and see how easy it would be to get fentanyl. And it was basically, to put the story shorter, it was basically like going to Walmart and walking out with a cart in China itself.
Yep.
Now fast forward to those guys bringing their people over, shipping that to Mexico where the cartels run the country.
Yep.
you know, who want to get that into America and can get it through the border no problem. I mean,
Yep.
it seems way too easy.
The Trump administration has its work to do.
Yes. How would you stop that? If I were Donald Trump and I said, Erik, you're in charge, go for it.
Some things are better left unsaid.
Oh. Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.